Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Witness. I'm here with Tom Servo from Seductive 9. He plays Pyro and Silver, and me and him are going to talk about some of the teams in Silver, some of the players, um, talk about Tom himself. Yo, Tom, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. A little tired at the moment. I just got back home from work, but I'm ready to talk about all this. Kind of excited, to be honest.
Right on. I'm glad you could make it. So I figure what we're gonna open up with, I figure we can kind of get to know you. So who is Tom Servo, right? What is your background in Highlander? Like, do you have any cool achievements IRL? And do you do anything like for fun outside of TF2?
I guess I'll start with the background first. I came home one day, and I had some people message me from a low graph server that I played on all the time, constantly, and they were looking for a pyro for their team during season 18. And I'm like, oh, I mean, I got nothing else to do, so why not? So I joined in on them and played, and I realized that this was actually a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing this, so that's when I kind of began my liking for the competitive scene. Since then, I've actually the first team that I made was Bloodbath and Beyond, which was a complete disaster because I brought in some of those players that were on that low grav team, and they weren't really cut out for the competitive scene. So I killed that team, and that's when I created Seductive 9 season. Let's see, season 20, I think, or season. I think it was season 19 actually, season 19. And once we got through the season of that, and made playoffs in Iron, I thought to myself, wow, I can actually probably take this team farther than I would like to. So that's when I kind of really started focusing on competitive and bringing more people in.
Cool.
Um, let's see, any achievements? I don't know really. I mean, let's see.
Yeah, have you ever won like a wet T-shirt contest?
Wet t-shirt. Now I wish if I had the body for it, I'm sure I would win plenty. But let's see, achievements. I mean, I really can't think of any like serious achievements at the moment. I'm in college, which is an achievement
That's
enough.
fine. You're not dropping out yet. You're making a living, I hope. So there you go.
Yeah, and
You're
then
alive and you're here, man. That's the biggest one of all. I'll tell you what. Um, so you were talking about really getting into competitive. Like, was there anyone, or is there anyone playing or that did play back in UGC that you kind of looked up to and wanted to model your play after?
I know, or at least knew, no one in UGC. I had never, honestly, I've heard of it a few times. In fact, let's see, Jax was a player that played on the low grab server along with Shadow Django, Rift. Ironically enough, they're all heavies. And oh, actually, Habib. He played on the low grab server, but I at the time I had no idea who Habib really was, or at least Hashashin or whatever he called himself at the time. And when I got into it, I found out, oh hey, being in silver actually isn't, a huge achievement. Winning platinum is. So, in all honesty, I never actually found anyone to look up until I got further into it, and then
Mm-hmm.
I found Johnny from Chill Penguins or the Whistling Pyro, and he's kind of been the one I've talked to for questions about Pyro or even our
Okay.
team or just competitive in general.
Yeah, that's really cool. I always ask players who they look up to or who they really want to model their play after. Like for me, I always really liked looking up to Kresnik and Carl, man. Like those were the two big blocks who I built how I play on. So we were talking about this S9 coming back. Um, you started a team. What you said back in season 19.
Yes,
You
19 was the first season.
you won Steel in season 21, right?
Correct.
21, and then you go into season 22 as Silver. And I remember doing my write ups on you guys, and you guys looked great. Like I had you guys in my top 8 for the first, I think, 3 or 4 weeks, and then you just kind of fell off the earth. Like it was pretty disappointing for me as a writer because I like seeing the teams I write about and give praise to do well and achieve greatness. But you guys really only got 4, 4 and 4, and then you died for a season, and now you're back. So you're back here with a pretty good roster. Um, like, what are your goals for this season outside of just winning, like what's the biggest thing everyone on a team wants or has in common that isn't winning? Like, do you guys want to try to live after you probably place or do well? Or does like everyone on the roster want to improve and get better as a player and they're just there for the experience of it?
When I first created the team, or at least after the first season that I created a team, I thought to myself, I want to get this team to plat on my own. Being the leader, getting the plat, maybe getting 4-4 in plat, just be around mid-plat. That has been my ultimate goal for the longest time, and once we won Steel, I'm like, alright, we can do this. Now, we won Steel in Season 21, and went into 22, and I had high hopes for us. I thought we were going to get pretty high up in Silver.
I did too!
Mango, who was our soldier at the time in Season 21, who honestly he was one of the best soldiers I've ever had next
Mango
to Bark.
Is great. Yeah. Mango and Bark are very similar, and I love both of those players. Like, they're both really good.
They're both very smart and tactical with their play style. Not just DM, but like they just know where to be, when to be, and how to get there. And that's what I love about my soldiers that I've had, especially Mango and Bark. But after Season 21, I guess something happened to him, and he just dropped off the face of the earth. He told us bye. He said he didn't want to play anymore, and he hasn't been on Steam since then. But I still went on and found a new soldier who I actually don't remember who it was. I went through a few, I think. Yeah, I really can't remember. But that was also the same time
I'll
I picked
do
up
some
Bonesaw.
research on that.
Yeah, so I picked up Bonesaw on Scout, and I was honestly surprised I got a fat pick like Bonesaw because his DM was fantastic. I loved it. It was, if I had had him and Mango together on flank the whole season, we probably would have done really well. However, we just kind of fell apart. I'm trying to think of everything that really happened in Season 22. Besides losing Mango, I really can't remember everything that happened, to be honest. But I just know that our skill level dropped.
I can help you. So, you guys had a pretty difficult, like, I wouldn't say a hard schedule for Season 22, but it was up there. I mean, I would honestly say post-Gold, Season 22 was a very good season because you had teams like Apollodosh and Skate Fast, Vengeance, Beepus Boys, Pop Your Pipes. Like, you had this really good top 8. Your first match was against Apollodosh on Upward. And that's a tough week 1. Like, you guys got 2-0 there, and then you go against Mr. Gnu's team on Lakeside, and you go 4-1. I mean, like, these are all, like, decent teams for what they were back then. Like,
well, when we played, I really don't remember what happened. I just know that there was a lot of issues with our roster to the point where we were kind of falling apart internally, and some people left, and I had some issues too attending some stuff for some reason. That's right, I know. I couldn't main for most of the season, so an issue that we have occasionally is if I'm not around, sometimes there's no one to actually like take full control and kind of micromanage us to get ready for either scrimmages or games and stuff, because I was going out of country for the week, or for 2 weeks, and I was going up during the summer as well. So I had to find another pyro, and I had to move Straw, who was our scout, to our heavy, and he's an alright heavy. But I guess just all the team synergy kind of fell apart because we had to get rid of players, we had to bring new ones in, and we also had to switch people around. So with that happening, being in it just wasn't good enough. And I mean, we can see that we lost to Itty Bitty Kitty Committee, Mr. News team, and we actually almost did. We did well against Apollodosh in the very first round. We came really close to actually that round, but then the second round came around, we just got just destroyed. So after that season, I just said, look, after that season we went into 23, and I actually started picking up new players to try to put us back together, and I ended up picking up Kyrie on my medic at the very beginning, and a few other players who were decent, and I think that's actually when I picked up Shiloh for the first time at 2, I think, who honestly is such a great demo. But the team fell apart before Season 23 could start because, one, we were just getting crushed by everyone, and so morale was lowering. And while we were doing this, Kyrie was going behind everyone's back and making "there we go," which ultimately fell apart.
I was on both those teams. I remember trying out for you guys both that season and this season too.
So after that, I just said, "Look, I'm not killing the team. We're just gonna sit out for the season, and I will work on rebuilding it."
I mean, and look, you guys look pretty promising in the preseason. Hopefully, you can keep the wheels on, and you don't have a repeat of season 22.
Honestly, I don't see anyone leaving, and we're pretty strong together too. Everyone's pretty dedicated with the team right now, so I don't see us falling apart at all.
Radical. So, would you say, like, how would you describe your team's play style? Like, would you say you're just a DM team? Is there some brain there? Like, are you guys the same, like, kind of central core that you were back in season 22 or season 21? And you like haven't changed a whole lot since then, or are there some like evolutions taking place for season 24?
Well, our playstyle basically, we actually really play off of each other, which is what I like. With Bark and Dibbity coming in our flank off of their ESEA team, they already have synergy together. And then keeping my same combo between me, XBS, and Shiloh, we have synergy. So if we just, like, all we have to do really is just combine those two synergies, and we honestly play off each other as individuals, which ultimately turns us into a single unit. And we just, it gives us a lot of potential to just dominate the playing field. So our strongest point is our DM. Like, on every Koth map we've played, we've either 3-0'd or 3-1 just about every team we've played. Rarely, and I'm really not trying to boast here or anything, but rarely do we actually, have much of a challenge. We have had a few challenges, like Bountiful Gaming was a challenge for us, and of course we played some plat teams who are naturally a challenge. But in general, we're just really strong about it. Now, come in terms of movement and taking space and stuff, we still have kinks that we have to work out, and that's what I have to do as a leader and focus on those kinks and those mistakes and things that we really need to focus on to really put us ahead of all the silver teams and into platinum.
I mean, yeah, that's respectable. I would say there's a lot more silver teams that you guys haven't scrimmed yet. It'd be really good. Like, I think Yuki and MDS are making another team that's looking pretty promising. So I'd definitely keep an eye out for that. So I'm not sure if you read our preseason power ranking list, but we named off Bark, Bonesaw, Dippity, and Jets as your notable players. What are your thoughts on that? And do you think we missed anyone? Like, are there any people on your roster that other teams should watch out for if they're just going off like the notable players list? Why are those players so valuable to your team?
I'll start with Bark and Dippity. Those two, I'm so happy that I managed to pick up. They both come from a pretty high ESA open team called Dragon Warrior 12, and both of them play Scout. Dippity's Scout skill is just, honestly, one of the best ones I've seen in Silver, and he's just smart and knows basically whatever he needs to do as Scout and executes his job. Bark, on the other hand, he's a Scout main, and he's playing Soldier for me. And he's never really played competitive roamer. Well, he's actually played a little bit of a roamer in sixes, but he's never ever done Highlander. So the thing is about him, though, he's really, really dedicated, and he always wants to improve on his skill, which is honestly the best trait I can actually have in any player, is that they're dedicated and they care about how they perform, even if it is a Highlander Silver team. They care. And he wants to win, wants to do good for the team, and he just wants to get better as a player, which I honestly love. Now, while I was looking for a flank this season, I had gone for quite a few scouts, quite a few soldiers, and just because I wanted to try my luck, I actually found them in the LFT platforms on the UGC profile or on the UGC website. And I'm like, all right, I'll add them, see what they say. The worst they can say is no. And so I asked them and said, hey, trying to form a team here, probably looking for we're about looking for placement in Silver. And they're like, all right, we got a few other tryouts, but we'll check it out. So I tried them out, They did great. Love them. They had perfect synergies just because they're coming from a team together, and they were a package deal. And I couldn't ask for anything better. I was like striking gold when I found them, and finally they were like, "Yeah, we'll join." So that took care of my flank, and they're just the synergy is what I want too. In the past, I've had issues with my scout and my soldier actually playing as a flank, as one. And I've had it a few times with when I had Straw and Mango. They would play together a lot. But this season, they're just like they're literally one. They make drives, jump into combo, kill the medic, maybe kill there, and they drive to safety, and they're perfectly fine. Let's see. You said Bonesaw was another. Bonesaw was a pretty interesting thing that happened, to be honest. I had him on Scout Season 22. He did really well in terms of DM. I loved him on DM. He was a good flank member. He carried our flank, to be honest, because I had gone through quite a few soldiers in that season. And my only issue is with him is that he never really played objective. And he would always make a lot of calls with the team saying, hey, we should be taking advantage of this, we should be doing this. Basically everything that I could use in a combo. And I never knew this, but he's actually a heavy main, which honestly, I never occurred to me to even ask, hey, what's your main? Because I always assumed it was Scout. So season 20, I guess now season 24 comes around, and I asked him look, I know you haven't played heavy in a while, and I had to keep talking to him about it, saying I would like to try you out on heavy, see what I can get, because I was not finding any heavies, because it's actually pretty difficult to find one. And he was a little iffy about it first because he just didn't want to play heavy because he'd been always playing heavy before and platinum and stuff like that. And finally, I got him to do it, and his play style is good for the team. And as you said in your power rankings, he has a gimmicky play style, and it really is. It's so unique to him, and it works. And I don't know how it works. For example, we were playing on Product against Blackjack and Hookers. And he was sitting behind the little panel wall on Cliff and allowed the medic, the demo, and the heavy to run past him. And he literally dropped all three of them within 4 seconds, and they didn't even bother turning around. He's just such a weird playing heavy, and it works. I just like to call him the innovative heavy. Jets. Jets is a funny situation as well. I asked him after I saw him in a HL Pug, or Highlander Pug, and said, hey, I don't see that you're on the team, you want to try? He goes, yeah, sure. So for the longest time, I actually never got him to try out because I was looking for other players, including Milk, who I was really, really counting on to have on my team. But it turns out he didn't want to. He actually turned us down to play for not Blackjack Hookers, but Bright New Future at Soldier, and now he's gone again. And I had gone through probably 9 or 11 snipers, and I couldn't find anyone that could meet my expectations and also follow up on Spectrum, the accused hacker, whose skill I honestly love, especially in Steel. He wasn't overly consistent, but he had a lot of good picks and stuff. So Spectrum was a really good sniper, and I guess I was kind of used to him playing. I just couldn't find anyone to either match his skill or be better. And then I tried out Jets finally after forever. And one reason is because he doesn't have anything counted for in Platinum, and he's never placed in Silver. So I'm like, all right, I'll take you in. And honestly, his tryout was the worst that he's ever done. And I'm not saying he was worse as in bad. I'm just saying every scrimmage that he's played for us so far has been astounding. And I have eaten all of my thoughts and words about every concern I've ever had about him, saying that oh, well, he doesn't have a lot of experience, maybe I don't know about him, but I'm just swallowing that right now because he is astonished, just flooring me at his skill. The last player, those were all of them, but the one player I'm actually kind of surprised you guys didn't point out was Shiloh. He's also in a high ESEA team. I think he was one rank below Dragon Warrior 12. And honestly, I don't think I've ever seen him drop under 500 DPM in any scrimmage or game that we've had with him, unless we've had kind of a garbage medic ringer. But he's just so smart. His calls are perfect too. I love his calls, and that's what's good about having a demo and combo, because listening into his calls, we can really work off everything that he says, and that's also what makes us a pretty solid team. Just listening into comms, listening to him really, and following up on his damage.
Yeah, I remember playing with Shiloh back a couple seasons ago on my trout. He seemed really good. I'm glad to see that he's finally blossoming into a strong demo, even though he's not. I know he's not the biggest fan of Highlander.
He hates Highlander.
Yeah, I mean those are all really good players. Like I've played with Jets before. I played with Shiloh. I mean Dippity and Bark both sound super strong. So I'm gonna have to ask like, who are some teams that you can really like look at and break down their roster, and you just kind of think that they'll be kind of tough. Why? Like, what are your thoughts on some of the teams that might give you trouble? Who are the teams that might give you trouble in your opinion, if there are any?
No, we're perfect. We're gonna win first place. Honestly, we played Thinking, or I guess they're God of Blast now. We played them once and lost against them after they rang 3 ringers, and I want to play them again, or 3 platinum ringers, but I want to play them again to see how we do. I also saw they picked Menlo, so it'll probably be a little bit of a challenge to play them. And Mime Ball's team, we haven't played them yet, and they seem to have a pretty solid roster, so I gotta find a time to play them.
Is that Shadow Ball?
Yeah, Shadow Ball. I think. Hold on. Is that the team name? It should be.
Minebread? Is that Unicorn Wizards team?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, that's a Shadow Ball 2.
Yep, Shadow Ball 2. Yeah. So I haven't played them. They look pretty solid, and so I want to play them. There was another team. It was let's got a bass, Mime Ball, and Yuki's new team, or that he's bringing up now. I saw his roster today actually, and saw that it was pretty strong. So I think those 3 teams are going to be a pretty big challenge to us. Of course, there could be other teams that just come out of nowhere that I didn't even expect, and just turn us over and kill us. But those are the teams that I kind of been working out.
Yeah, those are all super solid teams, and I'm sure I'll get around to talking to them about which teams give them trouble, and maybe your name will turn up, maybe not. I figure we can kind of close on like your stance on the state of competitiveness. Like, how competitive is Silver this season? In like your eyes, like, is it stronger or weaker than previous seasons that you've played?
If you ask me, I mean, actually, I really don't know. I guess it's pretty competitive. I mean, of course, there's some teams who are steal move ups, and they're just kind of steal move ups. So, okay, so when you say competitive, what do you mean? Do you mean a challenge, or?
Well, let's talk about tier 1 teams. Okay, so do you think there's a massive power struggle going on for top, I don't know, let's say top 5 teams, or is it already pretty much set in stone for the rest of the season?
No, it can always change. I mean, for example, when we played Bionicle Gaming, we honestly destroyed them, not allowing them to cap blast on Swiftwater, and then 3-0ing them with some difficulty on a Lakeside. So obviously that changed, and I mean, every team has potential to being first or second or third, and the expected teams to win or place could be knocked into 4th or 5th. I think it will be a challenge between at least 4 or 5 teams easily. It's not going to be like a we'll beat you, you'll beat them, you'll beat these guys. There will actually be a fight for first place, but that's like within the 4 or 5 teams, mainly the ones I listed off to, and yes, Bionicle Gaming as well. But the lower teams,
they're still developing.
I'm not too worried.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of the lower like tier 2, tier 3 teams are definitely like still developing, but there are. I think a lot of the good like sleeper picks will come out of there eventually, and then they'll be really good next season. And maybe,
go ahead.
And maybe like we'll see them again like on a tier 1 roster, or they'll make their own. It's super exciting. Like I think a lot of the tier 2 teams are kind of on that brink. Like B&H comes to mind for me.
I mean, we played them once and we lost on them. We lost against them on Swiftwater pretty bad, just because we just didn't perform well. And then they took the first round on us on a product, and then we absolutely just floored them on the next 3 rounds. But I want to play them again just to see where we stand on them, because they're actually in my opinion, they're actually pretty good in terms of movement and organization. And their DM is good too, but I think they strive more in their organization and movement, which is good to have in a team. It's perfect to have. And that's what I look for in my team.
I'll take good coordination over good DM any day of the week.
Honestly, that can even beat DM sometimes if you play it right.
For sure. So I think we're gonna wind it down here. Tom, thanks again for talking to me. If you guys want to, you can check out our week 1 power rankings and predictions coming out very soon. I would say maybe a week before or a week of, whenever matchups come out. You can find those on the forums. I'm Witness, and that's Tom. Tom, do you have any shout outs you want to make before I close off the podcast?
Not really, except to the other players that weren't mentioned that I've got on my team. Moose, Biz, XBS especially. In fact, I've been talking with a few other people, and the All-Stars end of the season thing. A few people have predicted that 3 of my players are probably going to be on it. Jets, XBS, and who was it? Actually, maybe it was just 2. Maybe it was just 2, Jets and XBS, because honestly, XBS, I could argue, is he's easily one of the best medics, and he's arguably the best medic in Silver, with just the experience he has. And of course, I got my other players. My engineer's good, and Moose is just a phenomenal spy that I'm glad to have back on my team.
All right.
So yeah, just all those guys.
Groovy. Cool. I'll see you guys for week 2 power rankings, interviews, and predictions. See ya.
Thanks for the interview.